Have you ever wondered what it would be like to lose absolutely everything? Not just money, possessions, or a job, but also hope, faith, and even confidence in yourself. Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when life seems to strip away all your certainties, leaving only a void that hurts in your chest and a deafening silence in your mind? Is there even a way back when everything seems to have been destroyed? This is the story of Victoria Carter, an ordinary 34-year-old woman from Manchester, England. For a long time, her life seemed to follow the perfect script that society lays out for many. A steady job, a stable marriage, a small finance department, and simple dreams of starting a family. But like a domino effect, everything collapsed within a few months. And it was in this collapse that Victoria discovered a strength she never imagined she had, and a power that would change her life forever. In early 2017, Victoria believed she was living her most stable phase. She had worked for nearly 10 years in a technology company, earned a good salary, and, along with her husband, planned to have children soon. But an unexpected restructuring led the company to close one of its offices in the city, leaving dozens of employees unemployed, and Victoria was among them. At first, she believed she would find another opportunity quickly. After all, she had experience, qualifications, and a strong network. However, months went by, interviews came and went, and nothing materialized. Gradually, the lack of a job began to weigh on every area of her life. Their savings ran out. The finance department became an unbearable burden. And, as if the financial pressure weren't enough, her relationship with her husband started to deteriorate. Constant arguments, mutual accusations, heavy silences. 6 months after losing her job, the marriage ended. He left, and Victoria found herself alone, in an apartment she could no longer afford, surrounded by debts and a sense of absolute failure. Have you ever felt like your life was collapsing in slow motion, and no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't hold the pieces together? That's exactly how Victoria described those months. Every morning, she woke up with a knot in her throat, a sense of emptiness, and a constant fear of the future. What would she do? Where would she go? How would she pay the bills? Shortly after, the final blow came. The bank repossessed the apartment for non-payment. Victoria found herself without a home, without a husband, without a job, and buried in debts. At that moment, she wrote in her diary a sentence she still reads today with tears in her eyes. "I've lost everything. I have nothing left. Maybe this is the end." The nights that followed were the hardest of her life. Victoria slept on a friend's sofa, feeling like a burden. She had lost not only material things, but also her self-esteem, confidence, and even the desire to keep going. Many times she stared at the ceiling in the middle of the night, asking herself, "Why me? What did I do to deserve this?" It was in this state of despair that Victoria experienced one of the most symbolic days of her journey. On a cold December morning, she went for a walk with no destination. She had no money for transportation, nor a place to go. She just walked. The feeling was of being invisible, as if the world kept turning while she stood still, broken inside. Passing by a small neighborhood bookstore, something caught her eye. There was a shelf of discounted used books, and on top, a title seemed to shine before her tired eyes: The Secret. Victoria had heard of the book years before, but never paid it much attention. Yet something that morning compelled her to go in and buy it, even if it meant spending the last coins in her purse. And so, almost by chance, the seed of her transformation was planted. But before diving into that turning point, it's important to understand. Victoria did not believe in coincidences. Looking back on this chapter of her life, she realized the universe had placed that book in front of her exactly when she needed it most. That night, alone on her friend's sofa, she began reading the first pages. She came across sentences that profoundly stirred her exhausted mind. You attract into your life what you focus on most. Your thoughts create your reality. Gratitude opens invisible doors. At first, it seemed too good to be true.
How could someone in debt, alone, and without any prospects change her life simply by changing her thoughts? And yet, something inside Victoria began to awaken. For the first time in many months, she felt a small spark of hope ignite in her heart. It was fragile, almost imperceptible, but it was there. She decided she would try. After all, what did she have to lose? Before continuing Victoria's journey, let me ask you a question. How many times have you found yourself with no way out, no direction, believing that nothing made sense anymore? And what if I told you that precisely in these moments, the universe is preparing you for something much greater? From that moment on, Victoria's life would take a completely unexpected turn, a path of reconstruction, learning, and surrender. But in that first encounter, all she had was a used book, a wounded heart, and a decision to try to believe again. And that's how, even after losing absolutely everything, Victoria took the first step toward a life she never imagined possible.
Have you ever wondered what happens after a small spark of hope is ignited in the middle of darkness? Is it enough to change the course of an entire life? Or is it just a fleeting illusion? That was exactly where Victoria Carter found herself. After months living in the darkness of despair, without money, without a job, without a marriage, and without a home, she held in her hands a simple used book purchased at a neighborhood bookstore. The secret didn't feel like just any reading material. Each page awakened something in her that seemed long forgotten, the possibility of believing in herself and in something greater. In the first few nights, Victoria read late into the night. The words about thoughts, energy, gratitude, and visualization felt almost magical, yet at the same time, they confronted the harsh reality she was living. After all, how could someone in her situation believe that thoughts create reality? How could vibration and faith transform debts into abundance, loneliness into love, and despair into hope? And yet, she felt she had to try. Then, in one passage of the book, Victoria came across the idea that gratitude is the key to opening invisible doors. The concept intrigued her. How could she be grateful when it seemed she had nothing? For hours she thought, what do I have today that deserves gratitude? At first it seemed impossible, but over time she began listing small things. The friend who offered her a sofa to sleep on, the warm coffee in the morning, the simple fact of being alive. It was through this exercise that Victoria took the first real step in her transformation journey. Every morning upon waking, she wrote down in a small notebook 3 things she was grateful for. At first, the phrases were short, almost mechanical, but gradually she noticed her energy beginning to shift. She felt a warmth in her heart every time she wrote. Life was still tough, but the weight felt a little less bearable. Have you ever tried to be grateful for something when everything seemed lost? If you have, you know how difficult it is. But you also know how, little by little, this simple act starts to change the way we see the world. While cultivating gratitude, Victoria also began practicing a second exercise described in the book, visualization. The idea was simple: create mental images of how she wanted her life to be. At first, she felt ridiculous. She would close her eyes and try to imagine an abundant life, but her mind insisted on showing overdue bills, closed doors, and the emptiness of loss. Still, she persisted. She created a nightly ritual. Before going to sleep, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and pictured herself living the life she desired: a meaningful job, a comfortable home, healthy relationships, and above all, a sense of peace. She repeated affirmations in her mind such as, I deserve prosperity. I am worthy of love. I am attracting new opportunities into my life. At first, it seemed like mere imagination, but over time, she began to feel something different, a peace she hadn't experienced in months. This practice became her refuge, her daily pause in the middle of chaos. But the universe was not going to leave her in theory alone.
A few weeks later, while walking through a park near her friend's house, Victoria encountered an elderly woman handing out flyers about a small law of attraction study group. The encounter seemed casual, but deep down she knew it wasn't a coincidence. It was the universe responding to her new vibration. Embarrassed to admit her situation, Victoria almost didn't go. But something inside told her she had to take that step. So, on a cold Thursday in January, she entered a simple room where about 10 people were gathered to share experiences about manifestation, faith, and transformation. That day, Victoria heard stories that amazed her. A man shared how he had healed an illness after changing his mindset. A young woman spoke about attracting her dream job after months of despair. An emotional older woman said that practicing gratitude daily allowed her to reconcile with her son after years of silence. These stories touched Victoria deeply. For the first time, she didn't feel alone in her struggle. There were others who had hit rock bottom and still managed to rise again. It was in this environment that she met Sarah Mitchell, a spiritual coach leading the group. Sarah noticed Victoria's fragility and gently encouraged her to share her own story. At first, Victoria hesitated, but once she began speaking, she couldn't hold back her tears. She told of losing her job, the end of her marriage, losing her apartment, and the despair of feeling trapped with no way out. The room fell silent. At the end, Sarah said something that completely changed her perspective. "Victoria, losing everything is not the end. It's just the beginning. The universe is giving you a blank page. Now you can write the story you want." Those words resonated within her like a wake-up call. Perhaps everything she had lost was simply the space needed for the new to be born. From that moment on, Victoria dove even deeper into her practices. Every day she dedicated time to gratitude, visualization, and affirmations. But beyond that, she began practicing something Sarah had taught her: surrender. It meant letting go of control, stopping the struggle against circumstances, and trusting that the universe knew the way. This was one of the greatest challenges for Victoria. Throughout her life, she had learned to plan, control, and fight for every achievement. Letting go of control felt risky, almost irresponsible. But gradually, she realized that surrendering wasn't giving up, it was trusting. And that's when small signs began to appear. One day, opening her email, she found an unexpected message from a former coworker she hadn't seen in years. The friend mentioned a temporary position at a smaller company and asked if Victoria wanted to try. It wasn't her dream job, but it was a chance. Still unsure, Victoria decided to accept the interview. On the way to the company, she repeated her affirmations. "I am worthy of opportunities. The universe conspires in my favor. Everything is falling into place for my highest good." To her surprise, the interview went better than expected. A few days later, she received the news. She got the position. Can you imagine the emotion she felt? After months drowning in despair, with deaths, losses, and sleepless nights, the universe finally showed her a small ray of light. It was only a temporary contract with a modest salary, but for Victoria, it meant much more. It was living proof that by changing her energy, her life began to change too. That day, when she returned to her friend's sofa, she opened her gratitude notebook and wrote in bold letters, "Today, the universe showed me it's listening. I am guided. I am blessed." The first step had been taken.
Have you ever felt that a single event, no matter how small, seemed to be proof that something greater was happening in your life? As if the universe was gradually showing you that it truly listens to your thoughts and feelings. That's exactly how Victoria Carter felt when she landed that first temporary job. To many, it might have seemed like just an ordinary position, low-paid and unstable. But for her, it was a turning point. It wasn't just about the salary, it was a message from the universe. You are not alone. I am here. Every morning, before leaving for work, Victoria repeated her affirmations in front of the mirror. She looked into her own eyes, still tired, but now lit with a spark of hope, and said, "I am worthy of prosperity. I am loved. I am guided. The universe conspires in my favor." At first, it felt strange. Part of her still doubted. But day by day, she began to notice subtle changes within herself. She felt more confident, lighter, more willing to face challenges. It was as if her energy was recalibrating. And indeed it was. During this period, Victoria decided to put into practice something she had learned at Sarah Mitchell's study group, the vision board. One Sunday afternoon, she gathered old magazines, scissors, glue, and a piece of cardboard. She began cutting out images representing the life she wanted: a cozy home, trips around the world, a smiling couple representing a healthy relationship, pictures of money symbolizing abundance, and at the center, words that touched her heart: gratitude, love, faith, trust. When she finished, she looked at that makeshift board and felt something powerful. It wasn't just a collage of images. It was a map of the life she was creating in her mind and in her vibration. She placed the vision board on the wall next to the sofa where she slept, so it would be the first thing she saw in the morning and the last before going to bed. Have you ever done something like that? Have you dared to imagine your life so clearly that you could almost feel, touch, and live every detail? This was the beginning of an even deeper transformation. Over time, Victoria realized that the secret wasn't just visualizing or thanking mechanically. It was truly feeling it. It wasn't enough to look at the images. She had to mentally live them as if they were already real. So, when she looked at the picture of a cozy house, she closed her eyes and imagined walking inside it, smelling the morning coffee, hearing the wind against the windows. When she looked at the travel images, she saw herself walking through unfamiliar streets, smiling, experiencing new adventures. This daily exercise began to radically shift her energy. At her temporary job, people started noticing her presence differently. Colleagues commented that she seemed to have her own light, even while in a simple role. A manager, impressed with her dedication and positive attitude, said, "Victoria, I don't know how to explain it, but you exude confidence. It's like you know good things are on the way." She smiled. Deep down, she knew that was exactly what was happening. But it wasn't easy. Many times, the old inner voice of fear and doubt still appeared. On difficult days, Victoria would ask herself, "Does this really work? What if it's just an illusion? What if I'm deceiving myself?" In those moments, she remembered Sarah's words. The universe responds to your vibration, not your doubt. When you feel fear, don't fight it. Just return to a state of trust. Feel it as if it's already real. And so she did. She breathed deeply, played calming music, and returned to her vision board, letting herself be carried away by the reality she was already beginning to live in her mind. It was during this daily practice that another powerful sign appeared. One day, on her way back from work, Victoria decided to enter a cafe to write in her gratitude journal. She sat at a table near the window and began listing her blessings. "I am grateful for the job I have today. I am grateful for the friend who shelters me. I am grateful for the opportunity to learn from every challenge." At that moment, an elderly man sitting at the next table struck up a conversation. He said he had a habit of observing people and noticed something special in her. Curious, he asked what she was writing. Shyly, Victoria explained that she was practicing daily gratitude. The man smiled and replied, "Ah, my dear, you have discovered the greatest secret. I practiced this for years too. It's how I attracted health and prosperity into my life. Keep going. You are on the right path." This simple, almost trivial conversation filled Victoria's heart with certainty. It was as if the universe were confirming, "Keep going. Don't stop now." From that moment, the practice stopped being just a conscious effort and became part of her identity. Victoria was no longer just a woman trying to survive her losses. She was becoming a conscious creator of her own reality. And as her vibration changed, her life began to respond in even more surprising ways.
A month after starting the temporary job, she received an unexpected invitation. The company was opening a permanent position in a different department, and she had been recommended by colleagues and her manager. The news left her speechless. She cried with emotion, realizing that indeed something greater was happening. More than the salary or stability, this achievement meant one thing: the law of attraction was working in her life, not just as a theory, but as a living practice. And that's when Victoria made one decision. If before she was just testing the law of attraction, now she would fully embrace it as a life philosophy. Every day, upon waking, she mentally repeated, "Today, I choose to vibrate love, gratitude, and trust. Today, I choose to create the life of my dreams." And each time she did, the universe seemed to open a new door, show a new path, send a new sign. Because the truth is simple: when you change inside, the world inevitably changes outside. And that's exactly what Victoria began to experience: the beginning of a completely new life, built step by step, thought by thought, vibration by vibration.
That night, Victoria sat alone in her room, staring at the notebook she had carried since her teenage years. The yellowed pages held scribbles of dreams, wish lists, and phrases of hope she had written herself years ago. As she flipped through it, she found a note that read, "One day I want to live in peace, with gratitude in my heart and the certainty that everything is in its right place." Reading those words sent a shiver down her spine. She realized that life had given her many challenges, but also small signs that things could change if she chose to see them differently. Inspired by this reunion with her own past, she decided to begin practicing gratitude daily. It didn't matter if it was for a hot cup of coffee, the smile of a stranger, or simply the fact that she was breathing. Each night, she would write down at least 3 things to be thankful for. It was a simple step, but one filled with meaning. Victoria didn't know exactly what awaited her, but something inside her had already begun to shift. It was as if, all of a sudden, the universe had opened a door and she was willing to walk through it. Have you ever noticed how small changes within yourself can start reflecting across your entire life? Sometimes it's not a material achievement that transforms your reality, but what quietly happens inside your heart and mind. For Victoria Carter, this moment began to manifest subtly, almost imperceptibly, yet profoundly. After weeks of practicing gratitude, visualization, and affirmations, something shifted within her. The way she saw herself and perceived the world started to transform. Before, every difficulty felt overwhelming, an overwhelming weight. Now, even in the face of problems, she felt a new lightness, as if she had discovered a strength that had always been there, hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and despair. Victoria began to notice that her emotions no longer controlled her completely. The anxiety that used to dominate her mornings was now interrupted by conscious breathing and focused thoughts. She learned to observe her feelings without being swept away by them. When fear arose, she told herself, "This is just an emotion. I am not my doubts. I can choose to feel confidence." Moreover, Victoria realized her energy was beginning to attract different people and situations. Previously, she was surrounded by criticism, negativity, and discouragement. Now she noticed kind glances, unexpected help, and encouraging words appearing at strategic moments. It was as if the universe were responding to the vibrational shift she nurtured daily. A striking example occurred when she received a call from an old college friend. They hadn't spoken in years, but the friend reached out to share a job opportunity in a side project that perfectly matched Victoria's skills. She hadn't applied, she was recommended unexpectedly. The impact wasn't just the job itself, but the clear perception that internal changes were generating external responses, signs that her practices were working. These small victories began boosting her confidence. Victoria felt a sense of self-mastery she had never experienced before. She started truly believing in her ability to create the life she desired. This new internal state directly influenced her decisions.
She became more assertive, more conscious, more present. But the changes weren't only practical. The deepest impact was in how Victoria related to herself. Previously, she judged herself harshly, blamed herself for past failures, and felt undeserving and lost. Now she practiced self-acceptance. She acknowledged that she had faced difficult moments, but recognized each challenge as an opportunity to learn. She allowed herself to feel pride in every small achievement, no matter how simple, and began to love herself in a way she never had before. Another important aspect of this transformation was her perception of time and patience. Victoria understood that life wouldn't change overnight. Setbacks, losses, and difficulties were part of the process. But with a focused mind and a vibrant heart, she learned to trust the natural flow of the universe. Every step, every action, every positive thought was a seed planted to bloom at the right moment. She also noticed changes in her emotional health. Nights of insomnia and constant worry became rare. She slept better, felt less tension in her body, and had more mental clarity. The nightly practice of visualization combined with gratitude created a calming yet energizing effect. She not only dreamed about the life she wanted, but felt prepared to receive it with open arms. Then came the most subtle and transformative test, noticing abundance in small things. Victoria realized that even with limited resources, her life was full of precious moments. A genuine conversation with a friend, an unexpected message of kindness, or simply the fact that she was breathing, everything became evidence that abundance was not just in material possessions, but in the quality of experiences and emotions. This internal shift began to reflect in how she interacted with others. Victoria became more empathetic, patient, and inspiring. Friends and colleagues commented that she seemed to radiate light, that her presence was different, more positive, more welcoming. This external feedback reinforced the power of the internal change she was experiencing. Meanwhile, Victoria continued her daily rituals of gratitude, affirmations, and visualization. Every morning was a commitment to herself. Every night, a reflection on all she was quietly achieving. It was in this balance between practice and surrender that true transformation began to flourish. She also began to understand that internal changes had a multiplying effect. Every positive thought generated a conscious action. Every conscious action produced a result. And every result reinforced the belief that creating the desired life was possible. This virtuous cycle became the foundation of her new reality. At this point, Victoria realized something powerful. It wasn't just about desiring things, but about becoming the person capable of receiving them. Previously, she wanted security, love, and prosperity, but often her energy conflicted with these desires. Now she felt aligned, vibrating at the frequency of what she wished to attract. The impact of this internal shift soon appeared in her professional and personal life. She was recognized at work not only for performance, but for the energy she projected. Projects began to flow more easily, opportunities emerged unexpectedly, and the confidence Victoria cultivated internally reflected in every decision she made. Gradually, she understood something she had never imagined. True transformation was not in external achievements alone, but in the inner peace and strength she had built. Losing everything, which once seemed her greatest nightmare, became the starting point to discover who she truly was and the power she carried within. Victoria now knew life didn't have to be controlled every moment. Losses were not endings, but opportunities for rebuilding. Gratitude, visualization, and surrender were not just exercises, but tools that connected mind, body, and spirit to the universe. And for the first time in a long time, Victoria felt complete, even without everything she once considered essential. She realized that true transformation begins from within, and internal changes, when sincere and consistent, inevitably reflect powerfully and unexpectedly in the world around you.
Have you ever noticed how life begins to respond when your mind and heart shift? When Victoria Carter started practicing gratitude, visualization, and surrender, something began to change silently within her. And as with any process of transformation, it wasn't long before these internal shifts started reflecting in the external world. Her first major achievement came unexpectedly. The temporary position Victoria had secured with such effort began to evolve into something more stable. The small company, full of opportunities, was launching an innovative project and needed someone trustworthy to take on key responsibilities. The manager, who had already noticed her dedication and positive energy, suggested she assume greater tasks. It was a new challenge, but Victoria felt deep inside that she was ready. What was truly remarkable wasn't just the informal promotion, but how everything began to flow effortlessly. Tasks that had once seemed impossible now resolved with ease. Problems that had previously paralyzed her were now approached with clarity. Colleagues began noticing her confident and positive demeanor, seeking her opinion, and admiring her ability to remain calm under pressure. Victoria realized something powerful. When you shift your internal energy, the world around you responds accordingly. Small miracles began to accumulate. A meeting finishing ahead of schedule, a project receiving unexpected praise, a satisfied client recommending her services to others. Each of these events reinforced her belief that she was on the right path. But the transformation didn't stop at work. On a personal level, Victoria began to notice surprising changes. Old friends who had distanced themselves during her period of struggle started reappearing. They were drawn not by need, but by the positive energy she now radiated. Victoria realized that her vibrational frequency was attracting people aligned with her new reality. A remarkable example occurred on a sunny Sunday. Victoria decided to visit a park she used to frequent with friends before her difficult phase. Sitting on a bench, she began writing in her journal, listing gratitude and visualizing new opportunities. A woman approached, smiling, and mentioned noticing the serenity in her posture and wanting to talk. The conversation flowed naturally, and Victoria soon discovered the woman was an influential career consultant. They exchanged contacts, and shortly afterward, Victoria was invited to participate in a side project that offered not only learning, but also a significant income. Every external achievement, no matter how small, had a profound effect on Victoria internally. She realized that the law of attraction wasn't merely an abstract theory, but a real force responding to her internal vibration. The more she believed, the more opportunities appeared. Victoria also understood that she needed to maintain her daily practice consistently. It wasn't enough to visualize and express gratitude occasionally. Total surrender and daily persistence were essential. She established a strict routine, waking early to meditate, visualize, and write in her gratitude journal. At night, before sleeping, she reviewed her daily achievements, reinforcing her faith in the process. In parallel, she decided to expand her knowledge. She began reading other books on the law of attraction, spirituality, and personal growth. She participated in workshops, online seminars, and study groups. Every new lesson was immediately applied, creating a continuous cycle of growth and transformation. Over time, the changes became increasingly visible to everyone around her. Colleagues commented on her inspiring presence. Friends and family noticed her positive energy and renewed confidence. Victoria realized that by changing internally, she not only transformed her own life, but also positively impacted those around her. Perhaps most remarkable was how financial opportunities began to emerge. After a few months in the temporary role, Victoria received a formal offer to join the team permanently, with a salary aligned with her skills and experience. Additionally, other side projects materialized, generating extra streams of income. It was as if the universe was rewarding her dedication, faith, and consistency. These external achievements brought not only financial security, but also the certainty that Victoria was on the right path. She understood that the law of attraction was not magic, but a reflection of internal transformation.
The more aligned she remained with her desires and focused on her positive energy, the more her external world adjusted accordingly. And so, Victoria began to grasp a fundamental truth. True change starts within. When you cultivate gratitude, trust, and surrender, the universe responds, bringing opportunities, people, and experiences that reflect your new vibration. Every step taken with faith and persistence creates a chain of events that may seem miraculous, but are, in reality, the result of a mind and heart aligned with what they seek to manifest.
Have you ever wondered how true transformation goes beyond external achievements? How it manifests in the essence of who you are and the purpose you have yet to discover? For Victoria Carter, this stage of her journey was revealing. After achieving financial stability, professional recognition, and healthier relationships, she realized that what truly mattered wasn't just visible victories, but the profound changes taking place within herself. It all began on a Friday afternoon as she walked alone through the park she used to visit on weekends. She sat on a bench near the lake, watching the water reflect the sunlight. For the first time in a long while, Victoria allowed herself to contemplate her life without rush or judgment. In that moment, a powerful reflection took hold of her mind. I am not just creating a better life. I am becoming the person I am meant to be to live fully. From this realization, Victoria began to see that there was a greater mission in her life experience. Every challenge, loss, and difficulty she had faced was not just an obstacle, but a tool preparing her for something larger. She understood that her story could inspire others who were at rock bottom, hopeless, and believing that nothing could change. Determined to explore this new purpose, Victoria decided to share her journey. She created a blog where she wrote daily about her experiences with the law of attraction, gratitude, visualization, and surrender. Each post was not just a narrative of achievements, but an honest account of fears, doubts, failures, and triumphs. She knew many people would relate and wanted to show that even in the face of the greatest adversities, it is possible to transform your own life. The impact was felt quickly. Readers sent heartfelt messages, sharing how her words inspired hope, motivation, and action. People experiencing situations similar to what Victoria had endured felt encouraged to practice gratitude and visualization, believing they too could change their lives. Each comment reinforced her mission, solidifying the certainty that she had found her purpose. Beyond the blog, Victoria began attending both in-person and virtual events on personal development and the law of attraction. She became a reference within the community, invited to share her experiences and practical strategies. Her story, marked by loss and reconstruction, became a living example of perseverance and faith. But true transformation was not only an external visibility or the influence she began to exert on others. It was in every daily action, in each positive thought cultivated, in every moment of sincere gratitude. Victoria realized that the energy she emitted not only attracted opportunities, but also strengthened her own essence. She also understood that self-love was the foundation of everything. Her self-esteem had been deeply shaken by past failures and losses. Now, reconnecting with herself, Victoria learned to value herself unconditionally. She acknowledged her strengths, accepted her imperfections, and allowed herself to make mistakes without self-blame. This internal balance was reflected in her interpersonal relationships, making them more harmonious and meaningful. Another aspect of this profound transformation was the awakening of intuition. Victoria began noticing subtle signs from the universe, coincidences indicating paths to follow, and opportunities appearing unexpectedly. She learned to trust her inner perception, allowing herself to act courageously, even in the face of the unknown. This trust became a reliable guide, helping her make decisions aligned with her purpose and values. At work, Victoria continued to excel, but now with a different awareness. She no longer sought only recognition or material success. She aimed to contribute meaningfully, using her positive energy to influence her team and surroundings. Her attitude inspired colleagues, creating a cycle of collaboration and mutual growth. At home, Victoria began reconstructing her space symbolically. She transformed her rented apartment into a place reflecting peace, harmony, and creativity. Every chosen object, every wall color, every decorative detail was an expression of her new energy and the life she was creating. This care for her environment also mirrored her attention to inner life. When the space around you is harmonious, the mind tends to follow. Perhaps the most remarkable moment of this phase was her decision to reconnect with her spirituality. Victoria began meditating daily, deepening practices that helped align body, mind, and spirit. Over time, she realized that the law of attraction was not just a technique or method, but a lifestyle integrating faith, gratitude, surrender, and awareness. Every thought, every feeling, every action now carried more meaning, intention, and impact on the reality she was creating. This reconnection with her purpose and spirituality brought a new level of peace and confidence. Victoria no longer reacted to circumstances. She consciously created her life, feeling responsible and empowered. She understood that challenges were not punishments, but opportunities for growth and learning. As this inner transformation solidified, the external world continued to reflect these changes. New work opportunities emerged, healthy relationships strengthened, and her financial life began to stabilize consistently. But above all, Victoria felt fulfilled and at peace with herself, aware that true power lay not in circumstances, but in how she chose to perceive and act upon them. Can you see how every small internal step, gratitude, visualization, surrender, self-acceptance can generate extraordinary results? Victoria's transformation didn't happen overnight, but through consistent and conscious actions combined with faith and trust in life's process. At this point, Victoria finally understood the essence of the law of attraction. It's not just wishing or receiving, but about becoming the person who vibrates at the frequency of what they desire. Every thought, every emotion, every decision reflected her new identity, and life around her began aligning with that frequency. Looking back, Victoria realized how much she had evolved. From a lost, hopeless woman on the brink of despair, she had transformed into someone confident, aligned, fulfilled, and connected to her purpose. Every loss, every difficulty, every challenge had served as the foundation for her reconstruction. And above all, she had learned that true transformation begins within, only then manifesting in the external world. Have you ever imagined what it would feel like when every aspect of your life finally aligns with your deepest dreams? For Victoria Carter, that moment didn't arrive instantly or magically. It came as a result of weeks and months of dedication, daily practice, and absolute faith in the law of attraction. It all began on a sunny Saturday when she woke up feeling a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. The apartment that once seemed merely a space to survive now radiated harmony, beauty, and warmth. Every object, every detail, every color reflected the care Victoria was dedicating herself. Looking at the vision board she had created months earlier, she felt something remarkable. Many of the images had already manifested, others were on their way, and all carried the same feeling, the certainty that her life was transforming in a true and tangible way. At work, Victoria received constant recognition. Complex projects that once seemed impossible now flowed effortlessly, and colleagues sought her guidance to solve difficult problems. Her positive and inspiring presence generated trust and motivation in everyone around her. But more than professional success, Victoria felt the deep satisfaction of living aligned with her purpose, helping others, and being rewarded for her dedication and integrity. In her personal life, the changes were equally remarkable. Old friends returned, relationships strengthened, and new connections emerged based on positive energy, respect, and mutual support. Victoria's social life now mirrored her own vibration, love, gratitude, and confidence. She felt that the universe had conspired to place her in situations and alongside people who were in tune with her growth and happiness. Then came the most exciting milestone, the fulfillment of a major financial dream.
Months earlier, Victoria had visualized the freedom of not relying solely on a fixed job, but of having multiple income streams providing comfort and security. Surprisingly, new work opportunities arose, including freelance projects, partnerships, and consulting offers. Each of these achievements not only increased her financial stability, but also reinforced Victoria's trust in her ability to consciously manifest her desires. However, the manifestation of her dream life wasn't limited to material aspects. Victoria had also dreamed of experiencing richer, more rewarding life experiences, travel, learning, connection with new cultures, and inspiring people. Within a few months, she achieved some of these dreams: a trip to a city she had always wanted to visit, moments of deep connection with nature, transformative workshops with personal development mentors. Everything seemed to fit perfectly. Yet the most profound and transformative outcome of this journey wasn't in external achievements, but within Victoria herself. She had become more conscious, confident, resilient, and connected to her purpose. Her thoughts were clearer, her decisions more assertive, her emotions more balanced. Victoria understood that true manifestation begins within. When you align with your essence, your outer life naturally adjusts to that vibration. She realized that the law of attraction isn't about simply wishing and waiting, but about becoming the person who already lives the life they desire. And that is exactly what she did. With daily practice, sincere gratitude.
Have you ever realized that achieving the life of your dreams is only part of the journey? That the real challenge isn't just manifesting what you want, but maintaining that reality and continuously raising your vibration? For Victoria Carter, this stage was transformative, requiring discipline, awareness, and consistent surrender. After manifesting so many external achievements, financial stability, professional recognition, healthy relationships, and incredible life experiences, Victoria understood that life cannot be sustained solely by visible results. The essence of her transformation lay in her internal energy, in her ability to remain aligned with her desires even in the face of unexpected challenges. She began to notice that the external world is a constant reflection of her inner state. When her mind was filled with fear, doubt, or worry, small frustrations immediately appeared. But when her energy remained elevated, focused on gratitude and trust, unexpected opportunities arose, positive people approached, and life flowed naturally. This understanding was crucial for consolidating her new reality. A central practice she adopted was daily meditation combined with visualization and affirmations. Every morning before starting her activities, Victoria dedicated at least 30 minutes to connect with herself and the universe. She breathed deeply, released tension, visualized her goals, and allowed herself to feel each accomplishment as if it were already fully realized. During meditation, Victoria did not merely ask or wish. She felt anticipatory gratitude, recognizing the manifestation as something already present in her life. This simple yet powerful habit elevated her vibration and created a magnetic field for new opportunities, experiences, and people in alignment with her energy. In addition to meditation, Victoria kept her gratitude journal updated. Every night, she listed not only what she had achieved, but also simple moments that filled her with joy and peace. A calm cup of coffee, a smile received, an unexpected message of kindness. Each entry reinforced her sense of abundance and prosperity, becoming an emotional anchor to continually raise her vibration. But true mastery wasn't only in the practices, it was in conscious awareness of the present moment. Victoria learned to recognize subtle signs from the universe. Coincidences, unexpected encounters, creative ideas that arose in her mind, and to act accordingly. This mindfulness allowed her not only to react to events, but to co-create her reality with intention and clarity. Another fundamental aspect was emotional management. Victoria knew that highs and lows were inevitable, but she learned not to be controlled by feelings of discouragement or anxiety. Instead, she observed the emotion, accepted its presence, and quickly refocused on the desired state, gratitude, trust, love, and abundance. This ability to consciously navigate emotions allowed her to maintain a high frequency even in challenging situations. Over time, Victoria also realized the importance of surrounding herself with people aligned with her new vibration. Those not in harmony with her energy naturally drifted away, while meaningful friendships and connections flourished. She understood that healthy relationships not only contribute to happiness, but also strengthen the ability to manifest desires consistently. A striking example of maintaining her vibration occurred during a workplace crisis. An important project faced unforeseen challenges, and the team began to panic. Victoria, however, remained calm and led everyone with confidence and clarity. Her attitude not only solved the problem, but reinforced her perception of inner power. She didn't need to be controlled by external chaos, but could use her energy to transform challenging situations into opportunities for growth and learning. She also began sharing her practices and knowledge with others, not just to teach, but to reinforce her own vibration. By guiding colleagues, friends, and followers in gratitude, visualization, and surrender practices, Victoria felt her energy expand, creating a positive cycle of influence and manifestation. She realized that helping others raise their frequency was a powerful way to maintain her own elevated energy. Another essential point was constant self-awareness. Victoria dedicated time to reflect on her thoughts, emotional patterns, and lingering limiting beliefs. By identifying these blocks, she consciously transformed them, replacing them with thoughts and feelings that supported her new reality. This ongoing practice of inner transformation ensured that her manifestations were not fleeting but lasting. Victoria also understood the importance of conscious celebration. Every small achievement was recognized and celebrated, not merely as a result, but as proof that her energy was aligned with the universe. This celebration reinforced faith, increased confidence, and elevated her vibration, creating a multiplying effect in the manifestation of new desires. As her vibration remained high, external results continued to amaze her. New opportunities arose naturally, relationships strengthened, and enriching experiences multiplied. Victoria realized that true manifestation didn't depend on external effort or rigid control, but on the ability to remain in tune with her own energy and with the flow of the universe. Over time, Victoria observed that her life was becoming increasingly fluid and harmonious. Obstacles still appeared, but no longer as insurmountable barriers. They became alignment tests, reminders that internal frequency determines what manifests externally. The awareness that she had power over her own energy brought freedom, security, and a sense of mastery over her life. It was at this point that Victoria understood a fundamental truth. Maintaining transformation is a daily, continuous, and conscious practice. It is not enough to manifest desires and then relax. One must care for the mind, heart, and energy, constantly raise vibration, cultivate gratitude and trust, and remain aligned with life goals and purpose. Looking back, Victoria felt gratitude for every step of the journey, for the losses that strengthened her, the lessons that shaped her, the practices that connected her with her essence, and the results that now manifest consistently. She understood that true manifestation isn't just about achieving, it's about living aligned, conscious, and in full harmony with the universe.
Have you ever imagined what it would feel like to live in complete alignment with your desires, experiencing constant peace, fulfillment, and purpose? For Victoria Carter, this reality became tangible, not overnight or by magic, but step by step, built with dedication, faith, surrender, and daily practice of the law of attraction. At this stage of her journey, Victoria realized that her life had transformed on every level: emotional, mental, spiritual, and material. She now lived with clarity, confidence, and gratitude.
Every morning was welcomed with enthusiasm, every challenge was an opportunity for growth, and every night was a moment to reflect on accomplishments, lessons, and joyful experiences. In her personal life, Victoria cultivated genuine, healthy, and harmonious relationships. She surrounded herself with people who elevated her energy, inspired positivity, and shared similar values. Family relationships, once sources of tension and concern, were now marked by understanding, support, and unconditional love. In her professional life, Victoria not only achieved goals, but created opportunities to make a meaningful impact. She shared her experience, guiding colleagues, friends, and followers in practices of the law of attraction, gratitude, and visualization. Her story became a real source of inspiration, showing that it's possible to transform life from within, regardless of initial circumstances. Victoria also discovered a new level of self-confidence and self-worth. She understood that every challenge faced, every loss, and every obstacle overcome had made her more resilient, stronger, and aligned with her purpose. This inner confidence no longer depended on external factors. It was rooted in her own energy and sense of personal value. Her financial life also reflected this transformation. Victoria now had multiple sources of income, security, and the freedom to make decisions without fear. But more importantly, every material achievement came with a higher purpose, inspiring and supporting others to find the path of change, gratitude, and conscious manifestation. During this phase, Victoria also valued experiences that enriched her spirit. Travel, moments of connection with nature, continuous learning, encounters with inspiring people. Everything was lived with intensity and gratitude. Each experience became an opportunity to expand her vibration, increase awareness, and inspire others to do the same. As she lived fully, Victoria realized that true transformation extended beyond personal achievements. She had the power to inspire an entire community, showing that the law of attraction works when practiced consistently with surrender and faith. Everyone who connected with her story saw that it's possible to overcome loss, defeat, and moments of despair, and create an aligned, abundant, and meaningful life. Victoria also understood that maintaining this fulfilling life requires continuous awareness. It's not enough to manifest once and then relax. Daily practices of gratitude, visualization, meditation, and self-reflection are essential to keep the vibration high and ensure that new achievements continue to appear. It was in this balance between being, acting, and inspiring that Victoria found ultimate peace. She not only manifested her dreams, but became a living example of the power of the law of attraction, showing that losing everything can become an opportunity to rediscover yourself and create an extraordinary life. Reflecting on her journey, Victoria felt profound gratitude for every experience, for the challenges that shaped her, the losses that taught resilience, the practices that elevated her vibration, and the accomplishments that now filled her life with joy and purpose. She understood that true wealth lies in internal transformation, and that everything manifested externally is simply a reflection of this deep change. And this is exactly the message Victoria wants to share with you. No matter how difficult or challenging your situation is now, it's possible to completely transform your life. With faith, surrender, daily practice, gratitude, and alignment with your essence, anyone can rebuild their reality, manifest their dreams, and live fully and inspiringly. If you're ready to start your own transformation, be inspired by Victoria's story. Begin today by practicing gratitude, visualizing your goals, surrendering to the flow of life, and trusting that the universe will respond to your energy. Every small step creates a multiplying effect, and your life can transform in ways you haven't yet imagined.
If Victoria's story inspired you, leave a comment sharing which part of your life you want to transform first, and tell us about your own law of attraction experiences. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the upcoming real and transformative stories that